Thank you for that introduction, and thank you all for coming this morning. As John indicated, my name is Will Dobson, and I'm the managing editor of Foreign Policy Magazine. On behalf of Foreign Policy Magazine, it's my pleasure to be here today to share with you some of the results of this second installment of the Terrorism Index. Before I begin, I'd just like to remind everyone that the complete results, much more than what I'm going to tell you here today, is available at foreignpolicy.com and at americanprogress.org. And my purpose this morning is really just to sort of pull out for you some of the mainline results of this second installment of the index, and also point some of the surprising findings that came out of it. As John indicated, the Terrorism Index is really something that we both, the Center for American Progress and Foreign Policy, are very proud of, and it's been a fantastic partnership, and really we're very, very thankful for the support that John, Carolyn, and their staff has put into this, now going to the second time. Why do we do it? One of the reasons that we were very interested in this project was that for the better part of 5 years, it's been the case that the American public has consistently heard almost simultaneously two things, which is that we're winning the war on terror and terrorists could strike again at any moment. And so we wanted to team up with the center in order to come up with a survey that would really probe and ask detailed, tough questions to some of America's top foreign policy experts. And this survey, as last time, has over 100 different participants across the aisle, liberals, moderates, and conservatives all participating, which really adds a lot of weight to what they have to say. And one other point that I just want to make clear is that none of the participants in the survey are currently serving in government. 80% have, but none currently do. And we thought that was very important so that we could really have very frank personal observations from the people participating. No government positions represented. And again, we plan to do this again 6 months from now. So I'd just like to now sort of briefly introduce some of the findings, and we'll go from there. So the broadest question, are we safer? 81% of the index's experts believe that the world is becoming more dangerous for Americans. Now, this is one question among many that we again found a lot of bipartisan support. 6 out of 10 conservatives agreed with this statement. 75% of the index's respondents said the United States is losing the war on terror. And then, as you'll see there as well, maybe most pointedly, 82% say that it is likely or certain that there will be another 9/11 scale attack on U.S. soil in the next decade. 92% say that an attack akin to the London or Madrid style bombings will occur on U.S. soil in the next 10 years. So again, the pessimism that we saw the first time we did this 6 months ago still remains. So then the next natural question then becomes, why? There we see 41% of our experts, the largest bloc, say that the war in Iraq is the primary reason the world is becoming more dangerous. And here I want to point out something that really ties this to 6 months ago. When we asked this question 6 months ago, the war in Iraq was the major cause of instability for 28% of the respondents. So that's a 13% increase in 6 months. Also interesting is that you'll notice that Islamic or Muslim hostility, extremism, is the third. When we did this 6 months ago, that was the #1 reason, and it came in at 30% of the index respondents. So you see in the course of 6 months a really dramatic shift in the principal reason that the index experts say the world is becoming more dangerous. And it may be because the index experts take a very dim view of the war in Iraq, that they see it as a major driver for the world's dangers. Because 88% now say that the war has had a negative effect on U.S. national security. Even more, 60% say the U.S. government is doing the worst possible job prosecuting the war. Again, bipartisan support for that. That includes roughly half of all conservatives said that the U.S. government is prosecuting the war in the worst possible way. Now, as you know, and as certainly the congressmen with us today know, President Bush introduced a new strategy to address the rising levels of violence in Iraq that called for sending an additional 21,500 U.S. troops to Baghdad. Now, Many of those men and women have already begun to arrive as part of the Bush administration's surge strategy. So we asked the index's experts what they thought of this strategy. And we found that 2/3 opposed sending more troops to Iraq. 81% said that adding troops would have either no effect or negative effect on the situation there. But here again, an interesting finding that came out of the index this time. It's not that the experts have a problem with the notion of sending more troops in and of itself. The tactic isn't the problem. Rather, they seem to believe that it's the right strategy for the wrong place. Nearly 70% of the experts supported increasing troop levels in Afghanistan, not Iraq. That may have something to do with the fact that there is a belief that the effort in Afghanistan, the campaign in Afghanistan, has produced results. The 64% of the experts say that the military operations in that country have advanced U.S. national security interests. So there is the feeling, it would seem, as though that there are real gains that could be lost, which makes the effort there all the more precious. And there's concern, rising concern, that this progress could be lost as Iraq becomes a blinder to the resurgence of terror groups, especially the Taliban. While we didn't really find a clear-cut answer as to whether or not al-Qaeda is stronger or weaker 12 months later, it was very clear, an overwhelming majority, 83%, said that Taliban has grown stronger over the past year. And this was also true of other terrorist groups. 91% said Hezbollah is stronger 12 months later, and 56% said Hamas is. So, seeing how Afghanistan was really the first front in the war, the experts seem to be expressing some concern that we could be losing ground there. And in fact, they also, you'll find in the index, ranked Afghanistan as being the 4th most likely country in the world to become a safe haven for terrorists, which would ultimately put us right back to where we started.